All right, and welcome back to the game. I am Bahamut, your caster, and we are going into our first Chair League game of the evening. On the left-hand side, we have Team LizHorn, and on the right-hand side, we have Reborn Knights Black, or RKB. Or RK Black, I think is what they usually go for. We're going to be going into Brax's Holdout here on our first map. Let me make sure my thing is reading out correct. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. So we are going to Brax's Holdout. That's going to read on the bottom bar. So, they're going to be looking to ban out the Uther. So it looks like they're going to be trying to just get rid of maybe something that counters their team, or just getting rid of a critical asset because they don't plan on having it themselves. They do have first pick on the side of RK Black, but at the same time, if you're not going to be picking up the Uther and he doesn't fit in with your comp, why not just go ahead and ban him out so you don't have to deal with it? Alright, so then ban-wise, we're going to be going for the Tassadar. Now, Tassadar here pairs well with quite a few assassins, and he becomes quite difficult to deal with post-10, especially with the Archon, and even then, like, Force Wall can be something extremely annoying to deal with on Brax's Holdout. Need to update one thing really quick, so sorry, we're going to be silent here for a second. I just realized the stream title is wrong. Let's go ahead and update that as well. So first pick, though, Genji is still available, so they could go ahead and just pick up the Genji and have that hypermobility on their side. Okay. Let's see. Update information. That should be correct now on the Twitch page. Alrighty, so first pick, they're going to be going into the Stukov, actually, and Stukov is a really strong pick. First pick wise, I mean, I guess if you just want to take him and just have that as your just main healer, I mean, you banned out the Uther. Top healers left are, Rhaegar, Ariel, kinda. She's paired well with someone that obviously she just explodes with healing, but that has to be, put together and played, and, there's a synergy. So the Stukov is really strong here, mostly because of the fact that you do have to fight over the beacon phases quite often. And with his zoning, he can just kind of stand in the back lane. If he gets the positive pustule onto his teammates, being able to just kind of cycle that healing and then pop it at the last second while creating zoning is a really, really strong asset. And I'm curious to see what they're going to be comboing that into. But they're going to actually go ahead and pick up Malfurion with KT. And I was actually going to start mentioning, I wonder if they're going to run the KT with the Stukov, because you can have the Whirlwind with the Silence, so that way even when they get off, they have still no sort of disengage. But they end up getting Kael'thas and Malfurion on the side of Team LizHorn. Now, Kael'thas really, really strong at wave clear, as well as a very good mage for these control points, as well as Malfurion with the roots. Now, on the side of RK Black, looking into their draft, they've got a strong healer. Locking down maybe their solo laner and a tank at this point would be really strong. So I'm thinking maybe you go with the Stitches or Arthas, and then you combo that with a Greymane so you can have him solo lane your top. That way you can kind of have open picks on the assassins. But at the same time, you can also pick up the Gul'dan if you want that wave clear. But I'm thinking it's going to be their solo laner and tank. That's going to be the Gul'dan. So I was 50-50. All right. Because that's, I mean, it's essentially just what they needed is the most important thing. Is they needed wave clear. They needed something up against the Zerg wave that was going to be coming in. So the Gul'dan is pretty strong here. Since the Kael'thas was already taken, and Jaina's not really a priority because fear over the Frozen Ring. I mean, Frozen Ring is good, but it would anti-synergize, I believe, with Joanna, because she could probably possibly W into it, or so it's. But at the same time, she could also get a shield and land that Ring of Frost. But either way, Gul'dan and Joanna have been picked up. We're going into our second ban phase here, and with that, they're going to want to probably look into banning out what we've been kind of talking about, that solo laner from Arcade Black. So if they're not going to be taking it, now they do have first pick, so they'll probably, I don't foresee a Grey main ban. I would assume they would take it themselves to combo with the KT. But it's going to be Ariel, and Ariel is actually being banned out here because of the fact that she does pair well with the Gul'dan, and you don't necessarily have to run Stukov solo. You can, you just, you know, you don't have to. So at this point, they need to maybe... I'm thinking, okay, so they're going to do a ban onto the tanks, which makes sense because if you are going to pick up the Malfurion, banning out the Stitches is a good way to make sure you don't get a hook onto Root onto Whirlwind combos. So that synergy is noticed on the side of Arcade Black, so they're going to go ahead and ban out the Stitches just to get rid of that potential combo. Now, at this point, Arthas is still available, strong solo tank. Muradin's still available. You can easily pick up either one of those. Muradin does do well on these fights because of the fact that just his Thunderclap gets pretty strong throughout the game, as well as just his ability to live just through almost anything because of the fact of Avatar. That's a really, really strong benefit that he has. All right, though. So they're going to be needing to pick up their tank here. And maybe they would want to pick up... So maybe they would just pick up their... You could get the Grey main here. It would work well. I'm going to assume that Arcade Black is going to be picking up another tank. So Cursed Bullet would be strong. But they're actually going to go into the Zagara Zul'jin. Now, Zagara does provide a decent amount of vision if the creep is not killed. Now, they are going into a Joanna who can, I believe, get it with W or her Q. Gul'dan can clear it. Stukov can, I believe, clear it with his silence. I mean, you wouldn't typically use it for that, but I'm just saying there's a lot of clear against the creeps. It might be a little bit of a uphill battle for the Zagara. And then the Zul'jin with the solo Malfurion, are they going to go tankless? I feel like they would need another healer for the Zul'jin. That... Anyways, we'll come back to that. On the side of Reborn Knights Black, though, they're going to be looking... Probably they're going to need some melee damage, I would think, as well as an... They're going to need a solo laner. The Dahaka is still available. They can go Greymane Dahaka. I think that would work well. We're going to go into the Zebo and the Sonya. Okay. So Sonya providing just extra sustain and just protection for the Gul'dan. She never really has to leave lane, which gives Joanna, because I'm assuming the Zebo is going to be soloing top. And on the left-hand side, Team LizHorn... I feel like they need a tank, but I don't... I'm just worried about that Malfurion healing the Zul'jin. I don't know if it's going to be enough. A Varian, I think, would work actually really well here. He'd have the ability to taunt. I was thinking he'd charge into the Gul'dan and taunt him, maybe. That giving the opportunity for Kael'thas and Malfurion to dive on with Roots and... But the stun for Muradin works really well. I mean, he could technically... I don't know if they're... It's a little cheesy or just like, I don't know. It would maybe work a couple times, but if Muradin were to take Haymaker just to like push one of the members just completely out of position in this beacon phase. But just Avatar is just really, really strong. But here we go into our first game of the evening. Team LizHorn versus Reborn Knights Black. Alrighty, and on the left-hand side, we have Team LizHorn with Ryan Red on Malfurion, Chambers on Zagara, Rooster on Zul'jin, Machiavel on Kael'thas, Heatstroke on Muradin. On the right-hand side, we have RK Black with Zodiac on Stukov, Sarahido Kido on Nazebo, Glover on Gul'dan, Bleep Blorp on Joanna, and Master Conductor on Sonya. So at this point, laning-wise, I would assume we're going to be having the Zagara up in top, up against that Nazebo. And that's going to be going up against a Gul'dan, Joanna, and a Sonya. That's going to be pretty hard in that bottom lane because of the fact that they are very, very strong. So Kael'thas is actually going to be going into just convection stacks, and that makes sense, because if you do the 4-man in the bottom lane, you're basically hitting potentially 4 people at a time. That's, if you get 5 groupings, that's the entire thing done. But, you know, it's not that perfect. We can only hope, if you're a KT player, you can only hope for a situation that good. Now, Zul'jin will be going into his You Want Axe. It's going to be dealing a lot of damage towards the end of the game. Gul'dan will, of course, be going into the Fellflame build. Joanna going into her tank build. Sonya taking that War Paint. Murden will be taking the Third Wind. So here we go into our bottom lane. This is the lane we're going to be focusing on a lot. We'll try and keep an eye on top lane between that matchup. But at this point, this bottom lane is where we're going to have all of our actions. That's where we're going to be hanging out for the longest time. As I say, as they just kind of posture up in lane against each other. And we do have this aggressive bush party here. So there is a bit of a flank from the Sonya, who ends up... Actually, they end up coming in here, so the Gul'dan taking considerable amount of damage there. And that was a pretty good... The Sonya was just not in the right spot, unfortunately, so they definitely got the jump onto that Gul'dan as he approached. So never face check bushes. And with that, though, this Kael'thas and this 4-man in this bottom lane is going to be pushing them back into their gate. Now, with this minion wave coming up, they should be able to push back up against them. They're going to deny the regen globe. Going to go ahead and synergize on that very well. Murden is really far forward here from his team, but this thing will be coming up to get a root onto that Sonya. And this looks like this Kael'thas should be stacking pretty well. Now checking up into... I don't want to check in top lane just yet. It looks like we're having an aggressive encounter. Arcade Black wants to try and push them out a little bit here. The Joanna is a really strong pick up against the Zul'jin. I believe the Joanna was actually already picked before the Zul'jin was grabbed, but the blind from her is going to be a nuisance for him as this game gets later on, especially if he does go into the Tastingo. But we are going to be having the Joanna. Does she have her Iron Skin? So she will, I think, might have been a cooldown. But if Zul'jin actually does take Tastingo and he takes the 20 upgrade, the blind will kind of mitigate some of that damage, or that healing that he gets, because I believe it's damage done is returned. But I think it has to be hero day. Well, if we get there, we'll look at it. But we do have this beacon phase currently being held by Team LizHorn. They are aggressing onto this Sonya really hard. The Joanna will come in from Hearthing just to kind of zone out this Murden, who's just really doing a great job of peeling the enemy team away from each other. He's keeping the Sonya from coming back into the beacon, which is kind of forcing a couple of the members to stay below. They don't want to get picked off in this rotation here, because the Kael'thas will just come right behind them. So this is the beacon phase still being controlled on the side of Team LizHorn. We do have the Murden just really taking the brunt of this damage, and this Malfurion is doing an amazing job of keeping him alive. Now, I believe the Chain Bomb is what ended up killing the Sonya there. And with this, we are going to be having the first Zerg wave 100% going over to Team LizHorn. Zagara looks like she'll be staying in top lane for now, just to kind of keep that experience soak going, as well as keeping the lane pushed up for the next beacon phase. So with these Bane lanes coming in, they'll be starting onto the well, which should be going here. They probably will be losing a fort. Gul'dan, I don't know how stacked up he is on his Fellflame. It looks like he's about halfway, and KT's almost done with his as well. He's getting quite close. And with this, they will be getting the first fort of the game, and they're actually going to be confirming the kill onto the Gul'dan. And without that significant amount of damage, they can get a little aggressive here. Now, Zul'jin will have to stand back a little bit to heal up. The Malfurion is quite low on mana himself. If they can get a pick onto this Joanna, that'd be strong for them. But at this point, they might get the keep gate. Might just lose some tower shots out of it. Take a quick peek into top lane, see how this is going. It looks like it's been being pushed in by Zagara quite quite well, actually. And with that actual last Flame Strike, that will be KT finishing his level 1 quest before level 7. Wow. But we are having this rotation from Team LizHorn. They are going to be working into this lane next. So what they did... Ooh. So that's the one thing. So at this point, they're going to be swapping lanes, and this is due to the fact that the Pen in the next phase will be in bottom. So... Or, excuse me, will be in top. And so they're going to put their offlaner, the Zagara, in bottom lane just to push up against that Nazebo. And then, you know, once the phase just ended, they said, all right, well, we're going to go in top lane because that's where we have to go next. And then they just literally flank onto the Nazebo and just get such a quick pick onto him. And it just gives them that extra bit of XP so they can slowly start to make that gap bigger and bigger. They're currently sitting at about a half a level lead. Give or take, it's, you know, plus or minus. But at this point, the one thing that I would like to note, and I've seen some of the teams do this, if you rotate up through here for that aggressive pick onto the solo laner, usually you would, since you do have that kill and the rest of the team is de-pushing the Guardians typically in bottom, you can then rotate onto their camp, take their camp, since you've just already gotten their solo laner in top, so you're denying them that, and plus you have that camp already pushing onto the wave, so it just creates more and more pressure, and it's just some of the things that I've been seeing in some other games I've been casting lately on this map. We do have KT doing a whole lot of damage to the Jonah. She does have her unstoppable. They will be able to get away here, but that KT combo is doing so much. And it looks like what they're going to be doing with that Sonya missing, they're going to go ahead and push onto this fort so that way, if they do get the next Zerg wave, they can play it. They can push up with it a little bit more, but the Joanna did not have her Iron Skin. Now, we do have a flank from the Sonya onto the Muradin, who will be actually getting the counter kill, but Gul'dan gets the suck onto him, and he will be dying. Excuse me, it's not the suck, the Drain Hope. Not Drain Hope, Drain Life. So they're going to go ahead and grab this Regen Globe up in top lane. They're going to be collecting the point up here as well. Now Zagara does need to de-push this, and looks like she has not gotten that yet. We will be having just a little bit of an aggressive rotation onto them here. Fortunately, it's not going to be yielding any kills. So at this point, they're going to go ahead, rotate the Nazebo into bottom. And we are going to have a small engage up here. The silence does hit a couple. But they end up just disengaging here. Now with 10s on the map, RK Black has to play extremely safe due to the fact that they don't have that damage spike. And actually, KT took Pyroblast. I'm sorry, Gul'dan. So we do have Avatar from the Muradin, Pyroblast from the KT. It looks like Tostingo from the Zul'jin, Maw from the Zagara, and the Twilight Dream from Malfurion. So with these 10s and the Zerg wave currently being charged, they aggressed on to the enemy team. Now they're actually going to go ahead and work on this keep in bottom lane, and this is a strong move because of the fact that the Zerg wave, it has to be dealt with, but at the same time they don't want to give up their keep, so they have to play this dance, you know, around the keep where they're kind of doing poke damage, but unfortunately they have to pull 2 members away because the Zerg wave in top. Now Muradin does leap forward. They get a stun onto the Joanna. There is a follow-up route, and she will be dying here. The Zerg wave is currently just now getting to the top lane keep. The Banelings and some of the smaller Zerg were cleared out by the Gul'dan, so it's going to be a little bit easier. They're going to be losing their gate, but maybe just a little bit of health. But at this point, they're going to just go ahead and try and take out the well. And I also believe with that little flash we just saw, Gul'dan did finish his level 1 Fell Flame talent. Looks like Zul'jin's just finishing up his. There's Malfurion as well. Stukov's working on his level 4 still. That one's a hard one. It takes quite a long time to do, especially the way these team fights have been going. It's a little bit more difficult. So with that, right away they're going to go ahead and stand next to this, but it was actually on cooldown, so they're not going to... Oh no, they were waiting for this. So yeah, in bottom lane. They do get just the lockdown onto her and the silence, and she gets bodied into that keep. And at this point, really, the hardest thing that they have to do on the side of Arcade Black is they need to work on just getting closer in the talent tiers, as well as rolling together. The Sonya was a little bit far out by herself. She is the solo laner, but at this point in the game, with the enemy team rotating around and just really kind of showing up anywhere on the map, it's you definitely want to roll as a tighter group. They're already calling for the retreats because I'm assuming they were going to say, well, the boss, was picked up here. We can rotate into them. But with these two camps, with the boss and this soft camp picked up, it looks like they're going to be trying to pressure up onto this keep. The Zerg wave won't be up for, I think, another 30 or so seconds, the beacons. So they are going to have this a little bit of an engagement here. KT is starting to put out quite a bit of damage onto that Gul'dan. There is a stun on to one of the members, but the Horrify does separate them away from the gate. Murden is going in quite deep for this. KT does get a Pyroblast off onto this Nazeebo, who will actually be falling here. And this is going to be a very aggressive push with this boss. Now, it has been working down this keep. The blue team will be getting that. They get the silence off as well. There is the ice block from the Malfurion. I believe Gul'dan was trying to just get onto him with a bunch of damage just to end this push. Looks like Murden will be jumping onto that back line. The Maw does come out onto two of the members. They are whittling down this keep, and I'm not sure if they can do this. The KT has started to walk away. He is quite low, but they are starting to whittle this down. And this is going to be GG. First game going over to Team LizHorn. All right, and welcome back to the game. We are going into Battlefield of Eternity here. On the left-hand side, we have Team LizHorn with one game up against Reborn Knights Black. So going into this map, there are a lot of things to consider, but one of the main things that you do want to have on your kit, or at least on your team, is you're going to need someone to be able to burst down the Immortal. So that is going to be one of the main priorities, I believe. At least in my opinion, that's like one of the main things that you do want to have in your team, as well as someone who team fights very well, because the fact that you are going to be having to team fight a lot during this map. So those are two strong things to consider now. So you can, with that in mind, you can start to develop, what you want to ban. And so last match, the Gul'dan was pretty strong. He works kind of well on this map, but if they're not going to be running it, banning out either the Greymane or the Vala typically is the direction that you want to focus on. But you could also choke out healers, so that's okay. So they're going to be banning out the Greymane, and this is the reason I'm saying this is because he does throughout the game. He scales very well, and he becomes extremely strong. So they're actually going to be banning out the Vala. They're going to say, you know what? No Immortal Burners this game. We are going to be fighting you. They're going to be having to pull out some interesting things. Now, Malthael has been someone that people do contest on this map, and Lunara does do quite a bit of damage to these Immortals, and she is strong in the team fights. So those are two members that I would contest. Now, the Greymane could also be banned out because there is the possibility for a Cho'Gall. And so there's the Malthael that I was talking about right there. And the reason Malthael's picked up is because he does percentile damage. So up against the Immortal with a large health pool, that does an extreme amount of damage. Now, that is damage over time, so that time does need to elapse. And so if you do have a comp that can burn faster than the damage can take place, obviously that's going to win over it. But he is still a threat to the Immortal as the game progresses. Now, first two picks on the side of Arcade Black. They could go ahead and lock in some sort of Ariel with some sort of battery. That way they can kind of just sit there and damage down the Immortal. And then the Ariel can just constantly heal up. And I believe that was a cheer, and I don't think I have something for it. But thank you. Thank you to whoever I think just cheers me. So we're going to have the Li Ming and the Rhaegar picked up here. Now, Rhaegar's strong because of the fact that he does have the chain heal as well as the Ancestral into the late game. So that's going to be... A second health bar is going to be really useful, especially to get onto someone at the last second. I think it's a possibility on their side. The Cho'Gall, alright, so the Cho'Gall works because of the fact that... I don't think they're going to go it. Usually you would take the Ariel with another tank, and then you would go with the Cho'Gall, but you'd lock him in your 2-3 slot. So, the Dream's dead. They're going to go with the Joanna and the Uther. Now, the Uther with the Divine Shield is going to be extremely useful for the Malthael, but at the same time, he could go Divine Storm, because if you do have the Tormented Souls on a bunch of stun targets, that would be really, really annoying to deal with. But Genji will be banned out here, and that is probably because of the fact that he can get into that Li Ming backline and really just kind of harass her. I'm just reading Twitch chat, and yes, I agree. It's going to be a very good game. So the Genji was banned out, and so with that, on the side of Team LizHorn, they're going to want to, okay, I was going to say choke out some of the tanks, but the Anub'arak is strong here because of the fact that he does have that Nubarian armor, as well as he does have good dive and stun onto some of these members, so getting onto that Malthael and him getting away is going to be a little bit more difficult. He could take, I think it's called Fear the Reaper at 1. But, I mean, it doesn't mitigate stuns or anything. Now, we're going into our last half of the draft here. They're going to need to pick up a tank. Muradin's still open. Varian's still open. Varian's actually a very strong pickup for the taunt. And then they could potentially go into maybe an Alarak with that. I think that would pair well with their comp because the Telekinesis would be really, really useful, especially against the Li Ming, and the Slowing Totem from the Rhaegar would synergize well with that. And then if you have the taunt from the Varian, you can really lock down a hero, then you can add in the Slowing Totem, the Telekinesis, and meanwhile Li Ming's beaming you or she's just comboing you, so I think that would be the route that I would be taking it, but they ended up going in with the Sonya, and the Sonya is going to be their solo laner here. But they don't have much Immortal Burn on the side of RK Black. But at the same time, we still have their last pick flex spots, so they could be going. I don't know what they're going to be going into with that. And the same thing on the side of Team LizHorn. They have a strong healer, a strong tank. Okay, I was going to start talking about they need to start looking at immortal damage, and this is what we talked about at the beginning. Lunara is really, really strong because of the poison she puts on. Combine that with the Malthael, that's going to be a very strong duo. The Rhaegar should be able to heal through a lot of that and should be fine. I'm wondering if they're going to go into a second... No, they can't go into a secondary healer. They could go into the Lily on the side of RK Black, which would blind the Malthael, and if Malthael's not doing his basic attacks, he's really suffering. Same with Lunara. But then again, they just don't have much immortal burn, but if you're just winning every team fight, then you don't need to worry about the burn. Anyways, sorry. They're going to need a solo laner. Never mind. They're going to go into a Tyrande, actually. And that works because of the fact they're really just trying to put a lot of damage out here. Because I'm assuming going to build towards the damage buff that you get from Tyrande, so you can place it on the Immortal as well as any of these heroes. And if they just get really a stun, like a W off of Joanna and a stun from Uther, stun from Tyrande, I mean, you can blow someone up. So it's really going to be a hard game. Now, I was kind of hinting at this just during this last Tyrande pick. Lily. I'm 50-50 on this, but I feel like if you did get the Lily, it just the blinds that you would get up against them would be pretty strong. But then again, you could also just go into a Cassia. She's not crazy great at Immortal Burning, but I think the Cassia would actually be a pretty decent pick. That's what I would be going with. But let's see what they're going to have. They're actually going to be going into the Illidan. Interesting. This Illidan's the evasion. Okay. Alright. This is going to be an interesting game too. right, and into game number 2, Team LizHorn versus Reborn Knights Black on Battlefield of Eternity. And on the left-hand side, we have Reinrad on Lunara, Chambers on Joanna, Machiavel on Malthael, Paradox on Tyrande, and Heatstroke on Uther. That is Team LizHorn. And on the right-hand side, we have Zodek on Rhaegar, Glover on Li Ming, Master Conductor on Sonya, Bleep Blorp on Varian, and Sara Tahikihito, I think I got that one close, on Illidan. That is going to be Reborn Knights Black. So going into this, they're probably going to be putting their Lunara in the solo lane up against the Sonya. And doing like a 4-man in bottom. Or they could just split it up and do a 2-3. It really just depends on how much pressure they want to put onto one lane. And then if the other team will be responding to it in kind. But let's take a quick peek at some of these level 1 talents. Jonah will be going for that block. Varian will be going into what looks like probably his taunt build. Illidan will be taking the Battered Assault. Li Ming is actually going to go for the Astral Presence. Rhaegar going for the Earthbound Totem. No, excuse me, Lightning Bond. Malthael will be going for Death's Reach, actually. No, the question is what Tyrande will be taking. Usually you see a Lunar Blaze first pick, but you never know. Bird build's always fun. Granted, I know these guys actually take this way more serious than I do right now. This is me just having fun casting, and I like to just pretend like they'll take all the fun talents. But they're going to take the most damage optimizing thing that works well with their team. Now we do have this bush here on the side of RK Black, so there is the Lunar Blaze, as we talked about. They do not see the enemy team, and I think they're just waiting for them to lane a little bit too far forward. We do have the Li Ming kind of showing them a little bit here. We do have a double stun from the Tyrande. Have a disengage on the side of Reborn Knights Black, and this will be a contest that actually kind of... They didn't get much value out of it doing that. It really wasn't that big of a deal. Experience-wise, I don't think they lost much at all. Maybe 1 or 2 minions, but at this point, people will start to play a little bit safe. Now, we do have the Immortal Phase coming up in about 45 seconds. And the camps will be popping in, I believe, 2 minutes, so it doesn't really time out well for the first one. But we will have the Uther kind of playing that backline a little bit, trying to conserve his mana as best as he can. Illidan will be going in, just kind of whittling down the Joanna. And this is actually going to pull healing out from those two. But they will be getting... Lunara wanted that kill so bad, and unfortunately, the deer will die. Varian will be able to get away safe. And I was actually wanted to note this really well. They actually picked the... they picked the Illidan into that Joanna, which was quite interesting to me. I guess they're not too worried about the blinds that she will provide. They are strong, but I mean at the same time, it's only one person blinding every 14 seconds, I believe. Oh, I know bird build's not good. It's just it's fun to do. So at this point, we do have the rest of RK Black coming for the defense against the Immortal here. We do have the Varian really getting just peeled away from his team, and that will be the Illidan dying. So this will be the first phase going over to Team LizHorn. We do have a Hearth from the Li Ming, and with this on the aggressive side, they will have to send a couple of them forward just to kind of pressure them back, as well as just putting their Malthael onto that Immortal just to burn it down. Excuse me, actually, I'm correcting myself. Reborn Knights Black took that first phase. So my mistake. They actually triggered it themselves. But at this point, with the Malthael there, they should be able to take care of this while they're fighting under their Immortal. They do get the stun. Malthael is actually coming back into the team here. We're actually going to be having the Illidan falling first. Now, Tyrande does have the ability to get a little bit of damage and stun. They do not follow up on that Malthael kill, so it does not work out for them. At this point, they do send their Malthael back, and I think they're going to go ahead and just try and race this down. I think they do know that they have the faster damage, plus the rest of the team had to go back for a lot of healing, and the bird will confirm the vision onto some of the enemy heroes who are there. So they end up getting this. It's not as much as as much of a shield as they had initially, but they went ahead and just said, we're going to race this. We're going to start the next phase. And they actually are going to go ahead and get this camp that will push top lane as well. And I'm sorry, I'm reading this completely wrong. They actually lost the race. I just realized that. My mistake. They lost it by 3,000. So at this point, we will have the Immortal going over to Reborn Knights Black. Ooh, my mistake. Sorry about that. Completely read the map wrong. Alright. With this, though, Joanna will be pressuring out the Sonya from just kind of aggressing too hard with the Immortal. They are going to burn it down decently fast. They do lose their well. They lose their gate as with that. In bottom, though, we do have this aggressive push from Reborn Knights Black, who will be just getting the towers and almost the gate. The minion wave is going to finish it for them. But Illidan will be going ahead and starting his camp phase. He will be looking to get that bottom one. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Sonya, after pushing in this Tyrande quite a bit, to maybe go for the top camp. And I think the marker should be around 6 minutes in game for the next Immortal phase. So we should be seeing that in a little bit here while we have this laning phase for 7s. That's definitely going to be a crucial part of the next Immortal fight. So this is going to be the bottom camp going over to Arcade Black. And this top one, as I said, was getting started by Sonya. But Malthael will be coming in here, and I don't think she would be able to live through him in a 1v1, unfortunately. But we are going to be having 2 of the members rotating up. So it looks like Sonya will be trying to delay this as long as she can with the Rhaegar coming up. So I think they're giving the false hope. Oh, this is going to be a dead Malthael. Do they get the... So Li Ming comes in, the minion wave does spot her, and this is actually this is going to be a chase on to the Malthael. Nope, there's a disengage, and it looks like that will be it. So they're going to go ahead and push up with this minion wave and this siege camp as well. We'll be getting on to their fort, and that should be exactly the next Immortal phase. It's going to be the next 10 seconds. Joanna is by herself in bottom here, but I do not think that these two can really get a kill. Now, with the Li Ming here, potentially, she should have her Iron Skin that she used right away. But they are going to go ahead and time out this camp over here. Just check on some of these. During this first phase, it looks like they're just going to go for the rush, so we'll just take a quick peek at some of the talents. See if anything is just out of the ordinary. Also, so I can drink a little bit of water, too. We're actually having the Poison Spear, so I'm wondering if Sonya's going to be going into Elite build here. Alright, so with this, we do have them positioned on the friendly side. We do have the Malthael coming in with the Sonya right behind. They are starting to push this in quite a bit. We do have the Joanna going in quite deep just to zone some of the members into that choke point. Though Illidan is coming up behind a few of them. Will he be able to get onto that backline? He does get onto the Tyrande, which she starts to run. The Lunara looks like she will be starting to get a little bit of damage, but she's just trying to reposition herself so she doesn't get picked off here. Tyrande will be falling with the Joanna, and that is actually going to be the next one going over to Team LizHorn. Now, they did lose 3 of their members. They did get the Immortal... that extra little bit of damage onto the Sonya. So this will be a half-shielded Immortal, which will be pretty decently... it'll be pretty decent push-wise. Should be able to get... Okay. Since their team is isn't going to be rotating in with them, unfortunately, they won't be getting too much value out of this. They'll probably get their gate and maybe the well. They are starting to show up at this point, though, so here is an aggressive rotation in. They do go on to that Sonya. And that will be in the bottom lane. Illidan falling against the Malthael and Uther combo. So they're going to back off here. Yeah, I just looked over at Twitch chat and I was like, yep, yeah, I completely screwed up that first Immortal phase. My mistake. But we will be having the next Immortal coming up in a few minutes here. Now, Malthael, realizing that some of the members are missing a map, will be backing off after pushing into this gate. That will also be the same kind of for Tyrande, playing within the minion wave, making sure that she's going to be safe and not picked off, because we do have 10s on the side of Arcade Black. And with that, we are having the Bloodlust from the Rhaegar. we're actually having Colossal Smash from the Varian, too. It's interesting. So they really, really are going to dive onto these members, and then just they're going to pop their Bloodlust. And we do have quite a few members up in top lane. Tyrande is playing extremely safe here. Just throwing the birds, getting the vision out, and it looks like this will be an aggressive push in bottom versus this aggressive push in top. And this is going to be probably a fort for fort. I don't think Tyrande will be able to do too much here. She just wants to make sure she plays extremely safe and doesn't get picked off before the next Immortal phase. As well as in bottom, Illidan is doing the exact same thing. But we do have this rotation out of the enemy team. And are they going to go for a flank? So they're trying to basically predict where their positioning is. The Johanna does go in with the leap. We do see the hunt in from the Illidan. Malthael does get his Tormented Souls out onto the majority of the members. They are falling so low on the side of Arcade Black. The Illidan actually falls with the Rhaegar as well, and with that body blocking onto the Varian, will he be able? He does get another Spooky Wave out. He does get the reach forward, and this is going to be a third kill, fourth kill, and a fifth kill. And that is going to be Team LizHorn just turning that fight around 100%. They were getting flanked upon, and they said, "You know what? No, we're just gonna take this right into your face." That Tormented Souls, as you saw, just did so much damage, and then as well as the poison from Lunara, on top of that, was just melting some of these heroes. But at this point, we probably will have this first phase go over to Team LizHorn, due to the fact that the other team just needs to get in and position themselves for this secondary phase. This is going to be on the aggressive side here. So at this point, Arcade Black want to take this fight before 13. They're on even talent tiers. They don't have the same level, but they can. So they do get the jump in from the Johanna. There is the hunted from the Illidan. They do get the pop onto the Tyrande. She will be falling. But we do have the Colossal Smash from the Varian. We do have Illidan going in on this Lunar, who is just almost about to fall. Johanna will be falling here. That is going to be an Uther kill as well, which gives a reset onto Glover. And with that, they save the Immortal with 2,300 health. Now, it looks like they're going to leave their Varian behind. They're going to try and burn this down. I don't think they're going to be able to get this kill. He keeps hitting his W, and he's just attacking the Immortal. Ooh, this is going to be a dead Malthael. We do see the Protect come out onto the Varian, but does it save him? No, the Chain Heal is there. So, unfortunately, we will have the Malthael dying. Now, they do get the not the Dragon Knight, the Reborn Knights Black is throwing off my map game, I guess. But the Immortal will be going over to Team LizHorn, so they will be pushing up into this top fort. And this is about an 11-minute Immortal, so it will be pretty strong, especially with the fact that Illidan is just getting back up, I believe. So they are going to be kind of just getting themselves together. Now, Malthael did just spawn, so that he does have to rotate across the map for this engagement. So they're going to want to play behind their Immortal, who will be having... he will be doing ranged attacks until he loses his shielding. So until these towers kind of whittle that down, the Johanna is actually going to go out, and the Bloodlust will be popped. The Hunt does come out. There is the D-shield from the Uther, and they actually get the kill onto the Tyrande. The Johanna is falling extremely low, and she will be falling herself. Now, the Immortal did do significant damage to this gate, but I think that's all that they'll be getting at this point. The Hunt and Leap combo is just really starting to whittle down Team LizHorn in a lot of these fights. Sorry, just zoomed really close onto that minion wave. It was very important. But at this point, we do have the Immortal phase ending, so these lanes will be starting to be pushed back quite a bit. Structure-wise, we are still a little bit ahead on the side of Team LizHorn, but at the same time, since this, 10-13 area happened, level-wise, just Arcade Black, they seem to just come alive all of a sudden. They're just like, we're gonna hunt leap one person, and then you just can't fight us. And I believe with that bird, it also does kind of show exactly where they are. They do see that it came from over that from the hard camp direction, so they're probably gonna go ahead and take this. Plus, they pop these two at the same time. They literally timed them together, and that will actually give them the ability to kind of rush this top lane. Illidan, they do have a stun. Oh. They don't have a stun onto him, so he will be able to get away here. He will just go into his friendly team, who looks like they're going to be waiting for the Immortal to come just to get this camp. But unfortunately, we have an aggressive rotation on this. Ooh, this is going to... they are going to go ahead and just take this. Thank you, free camp. You didn't even demount me. So that'll be a free camp on the side of Team LizHorn, which will be pushing up their top lane. And their bottom lane was already being pushed in by just... I mean, it was one camp member, but still. So... it was picked up a little early, but at the same time, it just means that it's not going to be pushing up against them. So Team LizHorn, they don't need to worry about that, but they are going to be, looks like they're going to be doing a little bit of a bush party on this rotation here. Now, Lunara isn't there yet. They do get the Tormented Souls out right away. There was a huge stun from the Tyrande. The leap comes out from the Sonya, but that will be 2 killed. And I think they were just like, you know what? You can be patient and try to pick us off. We can do the exact same thing. Wow. That was just everything. They just kind of rolled their faces against their keyboards, as you know, as someone I know says. Wow. But yeah, they did blow up the 2 members, so that will be the first phase going over to Team LizHorn. Now the lanes were depushed. They're going to want to work on their 16s. They can't really take this with 2 members dead. So they're going to have to forfeit this at this point and just kind of play the lane game, so they do not. So they don't at least get pushed in with the minion wave as well as the Immortal. Plus, it also will get them closer to 16, so when this phase does happen, they are on the same talent tier, so they don't get pushed in too hard. Alright, so the hunt does come in from the Illidan onto the Malthael. There is a stun as well, but the Tormented Souls with the Divine Shield gets onto quite a few members here. And this is actually going to be the Illidan falling first with the Varian. And this is the worst time for them to be losing their Illidan and their Varian, because of the fact that this Immortal is fully shielded and will be doing ranged attacks for quite a bit of time. And without that Varian there to kind of, body a little bit of this damage and, be the tanky figure on the team, they're going to be getting pushed in here quite a bit. Tyrande is going to be using her Shadow Stock here. Okay. I thought she was going to be going in for a pick onto the back line potentially, because it looks like they're playing really safe behind the keep. Now, this Immortal is at about half health, but the Varian and the Illidan are just getting up, so they do have the ability to do a combo. They do have the Bloodlust Leap. They don't have the Hunt just yet. Now, on the side of Team LizHorn, they do have quite a bit of their... we do have the Hunt coming in onto the Lunara, who does get cleansed. There is a leap onto her. Now Malthael does pop his Tormented Souls onto 2 of the members. They're doing significant amount of damage. They are stacked on 2 of each other. The Illidan is taking so much damage, but he's getting healed up so quickly. Will they end up getting the 2 kills? They end up getting another one. Will the Uther be dying here? They do get the kill onto the Uther. Now they need to deal with this Immortal who has been just chunking down their core. It's just like a 14-minute Immortal, so it's going to be really strong. Will they be able to save it? They do. So with 30% left, they save their core, and RK Black are in a little bit of a pickle here because that top lane is pushed in quite a bit. The death timers aren't significantly long, but they could be losing a keep front gate and maybe even... I don't think a keep. I don't think the death timers are that long, and it looks like they're hesitating a little bit here. They do go in for that camp. They send a couple forward to start working on the gate with this minion wave. Okay, so they've got... Alright, so they're going in with this extremely hard. Lunara did just get back up. Malthael's just getting up as well. So we do have the members starting to pop here, and it looks like they will be getting this gate. And they will be backing off. Yeah, okay. There's a stun onto the Illidan, who actually did get hit by... They are really, really... Okay. I guess they were going to go up to the minion wave and just fight in that. Okay. I was like, wow, that Malthael is just going to go in deep and just get that kill right off the bat. But at this point, they are going to be going to push back those catapults, and Sonya will be starting this hard camp to be pushing in top, hopefully during this next Immortal phase. And they'll be doing the same thing on the side of Team LizHorn. So the map awareness from both teams is extremely strong because they know exactly the timings of when they need to go hit these camps, as well as it looks like they're starting to run together and they're really... Okay. I thought they were going to be rolling together. I thought they were rotating into this bottom portion. I thought they were going to come in here for a pick onto Team LizHorn, but it looks like they're just going to be waiting in this bush for them to be coming through for the Immortal. But unfortunately, the Immortal is not going to be anywhere near the rotation that'll be made, so that minion wave will be pushing up in bottom for quite some time. once they see that there's a couple members in lanes, they start to go over right away. They see that the Illidan and they see actually 3 members are over there. But now that they're disappearing, so it was kind of a bait a little bit. They said, oh, look, you know, we've put 3 members in lane. But nope, nope. Plus, they also need to wait for their Maltheo, who was not there yet. Okay, so we are having a few of these members going in on this Immortal quite hard. Joanna does get her shield out onto a few of the members, just delaying a little bit here for the retreat. She's really just zoning and doing a phenomenal job of just being a body of... just to body all that damage, and their Uther is doing a very good job of just making sure she stays alive. Now, on the side of Team LizHorn, they do have catapults on the enemy core currently. So this is going to be a very, very time-sensitive moment, but there is the leap from the Joanna. We do have the hunt in from the Illidan. This does the Tormented Souls. There is so much damage coming out, but we do end up having 3 members falling on the side of Team... There'll be 4 members falling on the side of Team LizHorn. And this is going to be an Immortal going over to RK Black. They just got that huge leap onto like 4 members, and they just shut down that fight so quickly. And Li Ming, just getting reset after reset, was able to do so much damage. So that amazing job for Reborn Knights Black on that fight. That was just, I did not expect that. The Hunden from Illidan and everything, it was just so perfect. Alright, so with this we will have the Immortal going over to RK Black, and this is going to be about a 20-minute Immortal, and it will be going bottom lane, so it does have to go through this fort still. But one thing I want to note, it's a 20-minute Immortal. Like, it's getting they're getting extremely strong at this point. They're going to start chunking down some of these forts and these keeps. But at the same time, it's got half its shields, and LizHorn did just come back all full, so they do have full health bars, full mana bars. They're back. Almost all the cooldowns. We're about 20 seconds away from all the cooldowns being off for everybody. And the nice thing with this, though, at least on the side of RK Black, is this is a bottom lane Immortal, so any sort of catapults that will be aggressing onto their core will be wiped out during this push. They don't really need to worry about, monitoring that lane during this phase. So they do get the shields down, so the Immortal does go into melee range at this point. And it looks like it's just everyone's playing extremely safe. They don't want to go in too much. All right, so there's the hunt in from the Illidan onto the... Holy crap, the Tyrande, but they took the upgrade, and with that, the Tormented Souls is doing so much damage onto a few of these members. They are starting to turn this around. This is a 2 kills for 2 kills. The 20s are on the side of Team LizHorn, and they end up reverse wiping them? I think they give up the Punisher at this point. I wish I had instant replay, because So the Crater was there, and Maltheo was using Tormented Souls, but he was outside of it, and I was like, oh, the Maltheo isn't going to get the value that he needs. But at the same time, he still ended up getting all that off. Like, Maltheo, like, they did, like, 2 of the members on the side of Team LizHorn haven't even picked up their 20s yet. That's just how quickly they snap through some of these. But that Crater caught me so off guard. I did not know. That was such a good Crater, too. They got so many members, but they also got a few of themselves. So this will be GG, second game going over to Team LizHorn out of this best of 3. Well played. We do have a hunt in as well. Are they going to try and turn this around? 1% the Joanna gets the last hit. GG, well played.